Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Knowledge Exchange UK 30-minute insight webinar, all about research contracts today. My name is Luke Norman. I'm the brand new Head of Professional Development here at KE UK. For those of you not as familiar with Knowledge Exchange UK, we are the professional body for people doing knowledge exchange, taking ideas to impact across the UK, operating for over 20 years under different names. But what we do best is offer professional development for KE practitioners, professionals in the professional services, in terms of skills training for a variety of KE related topics and interests. So today we are focused on our course Research Contracts, which will be taking place in March 2026 over at Loughborough. And we're joined today by our fantastic course directors, Lizelle and Dan, who are going to give you a bit of an insight into what this course covers, who it's for, how it can support your professional development. So just before we get started, just to let you know a little bit of housekeeping, this session is being recorded, so please be aware of that. If you would like to submit any questions that you have, please do that at any time using the Q&A function. And we'll have a few minutes at the end to be able to answer any of those questions. So we've got some set questions that we're going to sort out, but we've also got time for your questions as well. So feel free to put those in the Q&A at any time, and we'll get to those just at the end. But I am delighted to be joined by our course directors, Lizelle and Dan. Thank you both for being here. Could I get you to formally introduce yourselves and a little bit about your involvement with Knowledge Exchange over your career? So, starting with yourself, Lizelle.
Hi there, thank you very much, and thanks all for joining. So I'm Lizelle Governor. I'm the head of business development at the Pirbright Institute, which is an academic research institute based in Surrey. I actually started out in knowledge exchange between the academia interface industry from the other side. I used to work in industry. I worked for a company that supplied biological reagents, and my role there was to in-license material from universities. I joined the Pirbright Institute in 2013 in the Knowledge Exchange and Commercialization, or KEC team, and since then have worked on a very broad spectrum within the sort of KEC space, supporting industry engagement, supporting funding applications, networking, certainly IP management and patent management, and of course, all of the different varieties of research contracts that support all of those activities. And I actually attended this course as a delegate back in 2014, I think it was.
Amazing. And I will definitely be asking about your experiences of that then very shortly. Um, Dan, could I get you to introduce yourself? So we'll just give Dan a couple of seconds to come back. While Dan's just sorting out his microphone, I'm going to go straight in with you, Lizzo. If you could tell me about your experience of attending research contracts back in 2014.
Back in the day, I really enjoyed it actually. I did research contracts, and I also did the what was it called? Fundamentals of Tech Transfer, I think, the year before. And it was an incredibly good sort of introduction to the whole field and research contracts, meeting people and working with people. And I mean, I'm now a course director on this course with some of the people who actually trained on the course back in those days. So I found it incredibly valuable. I'm definitely still using all of those skills and experiences. So yeah, no, it was a really good course for me actually.
So that is really, really good to hear. We have Dan back, I
I
think.
hope
Hello,
so.
Dan.
Can you hear me now?
We
Yes.
can hear you. We
Excellent.
can hear you.
Sorry about that.
What?
We've literally moved offices this morning, so we're sort of
No problem at
but yeah.
all. So if I get you to introduce yourself, Dan, about your involvement in Knowledge Exchange as well.
Thanks, Luke. So good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Blakey. I'm an associate director of the Research and Impact Services Department at the University of Warwick. I've worked in research contracts in a variety of different roles for the past 20 years. Mainly at two institutions, at the University of Oxford and at the University of Warwick now. As such, I've sort of dealt with a huge range of different contracts that we do, all of which involve some sort of knowledge exchange, of course, with the other party. I've been involved in Knowledge Exchange UK courses for about uh, 12 to 15 years. It gets a bit murky as I go further back in terms of how long I've actually been doing this before, and all of which have been involved in the research contracts course. Um, started as a delegate, but then worked my way through it and was invited to begin to lead sessions on the course and then become one of the course directors. So it's been a really terrific journey for me, being able to give something back to the community as a whole across the UK and beyond in terms of KE and research contracts.
That's amazing to hear. So I just asked Lizelle about her 2014 experience on research contracts. I'm going to throw a curveball question to you as well, Dan. I think that's only fair. So obviously I'm head of professional development, and so I'm all about seeing people go on their journeys from that early career to late stage career through KE with KE UK. So just tell me about how KE UK or Praxis, whatever we were called at that point, how that supported you from early on all the way through to now.
So like I say, being a delegate on the course, it was a great experience. Got to meet lots of people from around the UK and learned a lot about the job I was doing, sort of expanded my horizons. So really sort of helped me accelerate that part of my career. And beyond that, coming onto it and being a trainer and then a course director, it's given me a wonderful network. And this is one of the things that we always say, is that you do meet some terrific people, both the trainers and also the delegates, and build the network essentially across the whole of the UK of people who are doing this role. But also I think when you sit down and need to train someone on a particular topic, it does give you a different level of insight into that topic and that agenda than otherwise you might get if you're just being a practitioner. So from my perspective, I've used it to help me develop my own practice, and that's evolved over that period of time.
Amazing to hear that. So that's really, really nice to hear. And so on to research contracts. So to set the scene, could you both explain how research contracting can act as a bridge between university and industry? And I suppose why getting it right is so important.
I can go first. I always think of research contracts or contracts in general, I guess, as something similar to oxygen. Nobody really thinks about it when everything's working fine, and there is no problem. But as soon as something does go wrong, you need it very badly. And it is an essential tool, I think, for setting out the relationship between two parties, making those expectations really, really clear. And if a contract is well drafted, everybody knows what's expected of them. And it's far less likely that there's going to be misunderstandings that can be costly, that can derail your research, that can possibly damage relationships. So people sometimes think of contracts as a barrier. It's like just an administrative bit of, like paperwork that has to be done. And if it's done badly, it can be just a barrier. But if it's done properly, it really does enable those successful partnerships, because it helps to manage those expectations, be really clear about what we all want from each other.
So I definitely echo that point. And actually, the way in which knowledge exchange is done for most universities, yes, we have tech transfer offices who set up spin-out companies and do licensing, but by far the highest volume of knowledge exchange that universities tend to do. I appreciate not everyone who comes to this course is a university, but it's through that insight that you get through working with researchers at a university or research organization and that industrial part. So actually that is the greater part of the knowledge exchange activities that most research organizations end up doing, in terms of volume. And as Lizelle said, the contract is there to set the parameters. It's to set the terms of engagement, and making sure that everybody understands what those are, so that we can have a really fruitful relationship.
That's really, really great insight from both of you. And I especially like the analogy of, it's like oxygen. We don't think about it, and then suddenly we need it when times come. You don't think about it at that point, suddenly you do. I think that's a really, really, really good analogy that people will get on board with. I suppose
in a perfect world, we might never go back to look at a contract, but we don't live in a perfect world. And so you do need to have something to refer back to.
You never know what life throws around the corner, do you, at all? So I suppose we're going to have a lot of people who are maybe earlier on in their career on this call and thinking about going on this course, but is experience in research contracting required, or can people new to this world also benefit from the course?
So is experience required? No, it's not. We very much have designed the course to build from the bottom up. So we start off by sort of giving everybody a contracts 101 to make sure that everybody's sort of understanding the basics of contracts, and then build up from there. Having said that, some of the concepts that we're dealing with, sometimes it's easier to come at them if you have had a little bit of experience, either directly doing a contracts facing role, and often we find people who've perhaps done 6 months or so, or a year in post, then coming on the course, and it's sort of, like I said with me, it accelerates that learning process and that personal development. Equally, there are people who might come on the course who have worked in analogous and parallel fields, either on tech transfer or perhaps on some of the research side of things or research development, who want to come on the course because it will aid their understanding from a slightly different perspective on the contracts. But they inhabit this sort of research ecosystem, if not the actual doing research contracts.
I think that's such an important point as well, just on, university structures are changing, tech transfer teams are changing and being restructured all the time, where people who weren't engaged with research contracts suddenly are having to bring that into their roles as well. So it's nice that the course offers a bit of something for everyone.
Yeah, I think we normally see people between the sort of, at the very least, 3 to 6 months experience, and maybe kind of up to about 2 years, sometimes a bit more, but that's probably for people who aren't directly contract facing. So they don't negotiate contracts, but they might be, say, a project manager or a research manager, someone who has to be able to read and understand a contract rather than necessarily drafting it.
Insightful. So what skills can delegates who come on this course expect to learn or walk away with?
So many skills. So obviously the sort of key skills are very specific. It's a very practical course. We're gonna talk about how to draft and review and negotiate research contracts, and those are different skill sets. And it's about then being able to, we expect people to be able to spot potentially unacceptable risks, how to mitigate them, understand, and I think the crucial thing is understanding where you might need other expertise, like maybe you need to go talk to a lawyer, a legal expert, or a tax expert, or someone like that. And then the other thing that I think we try and really get across in this course is when you need to be dealing with internal stakeholders, when you need more information from the researcher in question, perhaps, or the finance team, or when you need to transmit information to the finance team or the researcher.
Absolutely, and I think over and above those, really quite holistic skills in terms of that sort of helicopter view that Lizelle has highlighted. We do have time in the course. Obviously, it's a couple of days, and we do have time to get into some of the really nitty-gritty things that lots of people ask for in terms of understanding of contracts. We go into what's a boilerplate term. We go into how to make sure that a contract, if you're drafting it, is legally binding and properly structured. We talk about charity law, because many of the organisations that we either work for or work with are charities, and then we sort of dive into the nitty-gritty of some of the more detailed aspects of that, as well as taking that sort of more sort of a helicopter view to make sure that we actually can then use those skills and use that knowledge in a more practical setting. And as Lizelle highlighted, and I'll reinforce, it really is a practical based course. We do some sort of structured learning, but then we always want to seek to apply that to the particular issues at hand.
So that is a great segue into my next question, which is all about what makes this course unique, especially in terms of the style of learning. People might see this course as a death by PowerPoint, people just talking at them for 3 days straight. I'm presuming that's not the case, but could you tell me a bit about the style of learning and the practical aspects of this course?
I think we try very hard to have it not be death by PowerPoint, and we do that in a few different ways. We work with several different trainers, so it's not all the same people all the time. We work with experts and practitioners, so people who are really working in this field every day, so they really know their stuff. We try and make it as interactive and engaging as possible. So there's several sessions that are kind of workshops and very engaged, very interactive for the delegates to get involved with. And that piece around how practical it is, it really is immediately applicable. You can walk away from this course and instantly apply what you've learned.
Absolutely, and I think one of the key points that Lizelle has mentioned there is that it's not just Lizelle and I delivering the course. We have experts who come in and are trainers, all of whom have worked either in the precise sector, so working on research contracts, or they've worked in legal practice. So we've got, when we're talking about some of these things around liabilities and indemnities, which is a phrase that often people get concerned and nervous about, we've got someone who's coming in from a legal perspective to say, actually, this is what they are, real legal experts to be able to come in and do that. And of course, everyone on the course who comes to do training is a volunteer. And so actually they're there because they enjoy doing it. They want to help people across the community, and they enjoy that knowledge exchange community that we've developed.
And I think we can also say that's not just specific to this course, but I think all of the Knowledge Exchange UK courses is that it's such a great opportunity to start developing or build on your professional network. So you meet other people doing similar jobs and having similar questions and concerns. And it kind of gives you that network of people that you can reach out to in the future. And I've had to negotiate contracts with people who've been on the course, which is always a fun experience.
Yeah, I think some really, really good points there, especially first of all about the whole, the courses delivered by volunteers. We at KUK are all about by volunteers for volunteers, for the sector, making sure that people are learning, peer-to-peer learning, which I think is always the best route, is always the best to have people who've done that job and understood it and then now sharing their best practice. I think that always works the best. But similarly, I think having all these different experts going from so many different places, you hear so many different perspectives, which is really, really nice to have. People might disagree on things or agree on things, and that's really, really important too. But by far for me, I was exactly like you, Lizelle. I went on these courses before when I was a KU practitioner, and by far one of the most valuable parts of that course was meeting other delegates and meeting the course directors and the volunteers, and learning from their expertise, people who I know I can call upon at a moment's notice because I know what they do and where they're from and what their expertise in. And I think that's such an undervalued point of these courses. So yeah, really, really appreciate you bringing that up.
And so one thing I'd say on that, Luke, as well, is that actually we make sure that within the course there is plenty of time to go and meet those other people.
Yeah.
We don't sort of have 2 hours and then a 5-minute comfort break and then another 2 hours. No, we have some time, and then we have plenty of time where people can grab a coffee. Catering's always great, so grab a coffee, grab some pastry, and to make sure that people can actually have that time to interact with the other people outside of the sort of the formal training area, so that they can really begin to make those networks. And we also try and encourage sort of mixing up of groups and that sort of thing, so that actually you can benefit from the experience of everybody within the room, rather than just a relatively small group of people that you might be sitting with on any one day.
And the trainers also are often involved in those, meeting points, etc. So if you have questions, I mean, there's time to answer. There's generally time during the session to ask questions. But if something wasn't quite answered, then you will be able to catch someone.
And that's really good to hear, especially on a course. People might look at the course and go, "Oh, it's 3 days in person." But when you are getting to spend that kind of time with all of these experts and all these fellow people are in perhaps similar or very different roles to you, I think that is just so valuable. So that is really great to hear. What I'm going to say to everyone is, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A now. We've got one preset question left, so start thinking about any questions that you might want Lizelle, Dan, or I to answer. Put them in the Q&A now. But I'm going to ask perhaps my favourite question of the set, which is, what do you enjoy most about delivering this course?
Well, personally, it's about working with some really great people, both in terms of the other trainers, the other course directors. And we're really lucky on this course is that Lizelle and I work together very closely, but then we have other course directors as too, so we can sort of we operate as a quartet rather than just a duo. But also meeting then all the other delegates on the course and understanding your perspective, and it really helps me think about, yeah, if I then take that back to the day job, I can then think about how different organisations work, how I can then try and improve things for my team as well here at Warwick. And it really gives me a great energy coming in and delivering a course like this.
Yeah, I can echo that. I've done this course, either done the course or as a trainer or as a course director many times now, and I learn something new every time, or I'm reminded of something that maybe I had forgotten. And I learn as much from the delegates as I do from the trainers. And it's incredibly valuable to kind of and invigorating to have these sort of engaging events with other people. It's also just quite nice to meet other people who do a similar job. If you're in a smaller organization, you might be the only person who does what you do, and there's no one else to talk to. So it's nice to be able to kind of share war stories with colleagues.
And that's really, really great to hear that, not only are the delegates getting a lot out of this and a lot of new experiences, but you're also learning as well. And you're, hearing everyone's stories and finding out new ways of doing things as well. So again, peer-to-peer learning is the best form of professional development you can get because it goes both ways. It's not just one way. And so what I'm going to do is open up the Q&A. Currently, we have no questions, which is okay. If people want to submit their questions, feel free to put them in there now. What I'm going to do, just while we wait for any questions, is just tell you about the details of our next course. So our next iteration of research contracts will be in March 2026. We have a 2-hour online induction, which is on Tuesday, the 3rd of March. And then we have 3 in-person days, which are from the 10th to the 12th of March. And that will be taking place at the very beautiful Burley Court in Loughborough. So not too far from where I'm based in Nottingham. So if you do want to sign up for that course, make sure to go on ke.org.uk and you'll be able to find links there to the course. So definitely sign up to that. And if you want to ask any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A still. We've still got time. Any other things, Dan or Lizelle, that you think would be useful for people to know about the course, or any experiences that you picked up upon the way as well?
I would just say that sometimes I think people get a bit nervous about this and they worry that, is it going to be beyond me? Almost certainly not. We've designed it for, as Dan said, it helps if you've had a little bit of knowledge. You kind of, you've seen a few example contracts, but even if you haven't, we'll guide you through the process. It's not as terrifying as you might think.
And hopefully, meeting you both now, I'm sure everyone can attest you are both lovely people and can absolutely help them on their way with everything research contracts. And so we have no questions in the Q&A, which means we've all done a great job and we've answered everyone's concerns without them having to ask a question. That is absolutely amazing. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again to our course directors and to everyone joining us today. If you would like to learn more or book onto our research contracts course, as I mentioned, go on to the link that has been put into the chat now, or go to ke.org.uk, where you'll be able to find more information about everything on the course, who it's for, where it's based, the dates, everything like that. And you'll also get a follow-up email with that link in as well. So don't worry if you haven't got time to go to the chat and find that link. We also have other courses here at KUK. It's not just all research contracts, but there's also some nice follow-on courses and complementary courses as well, such as our Developing Strategic Partnerships course to continue the journey into collaborations. Or if you're more senior or director level, we have a Leadership in KE course that might be good for you. It's a brand new style of course, so we're delivering it this year in a 2-day format, which is really nice. For those of you who have particularly started your journeys into KE, leadership journeys into KE as well. We also have our annual conference, which is hosted in June in Newport in Wales at the ICC. So very, very excited for that at KUK. So make sure to book your tickets for that. And you might meet some of our course directors and volunteers there as well. Apart from that, we hope to see you at an upcoming KUK course or our conference or any of our events coming up. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much for attending this 30-minute insight. Thank you.
Thank you all
Thanks
very
all.
much.